In this lecture, we are going to study about the while statement. So we will see what is this while statement, what is its importance, and for what is it used in C++ programming. Okay, so let's get started. So before we go into the while statement, let us talk a little bit about the flow of control. Now, statements normally execute sequentially. Now, what we mean by this is that in programming, whenever we write programs, usually the statements that are written in the programs are executed in a sequential manner. So let's take an example here. So here, let's say that this is a program. So we begin the program here and then we have a few statements. So to be precise, we have 3 statements over here. So in sequential execution, we see that we begin here, then statement 1 is executed, and then statement 2, then statement 3, and then we end. So we see that the execution is sequential in manner. So that is what we mean by sequential execution, and that is a kind of flow of control that we have in programming. Now, programming languages also provide various flow of control statements that allow for more complicated execution paths. Now, besides this sequential execution, programming languages also gives us a support for other types of flow of control, which are not just sequential, but they can follow many other complicated paths. That means it is not essential that they have to be sequential all the time. They may come from one statement and they may go to some other statement here, and from statement 3, let's say that it can come back to 1 again, and then it can come back to 2 based on the conditions and the requirements. So that is what we mean by the various flow of control statements. Okay, now as we understood the flow of control, now we are in a position to understand and study about the while statement. Now let's see what is the while statement here. A while statement repeatedly executes a section of code so long as a given condition is true. So in a while statement, what happens is that there will be a section of code under the while statement. And then that code will be executed again and again until and unless the given condition is true. So we see that there are 2 main things that we see here, the section of code and then there is a condition. So we have to check the condition, and as long as the condition is true, that section of code under the while statement will keep on executing. Okay, so let's see the flow of control of the while statement here. So here we usually call the while statement as a while loop. So it is called a loop because it is something that is going to be executed again and again. So that is why we call it a loop. So as I said, first of all, there is a test condition. So we will test the condition that is there, and then if the condition is true, then the statement will be executed. So whatever statements we have under the while statement will be executed as long as the condition is true. Now, once this is executed, it will go back again and test the condition. And again, if the condition is still true, again, these statements will be executed. And now this loop will go on again and again till when? Till the condition becomes false. So once the condition becomes false, we exit or we come out of the while loop. So that is how the while statement works. So let us take an example program to understand the working of the while statement. So here is an example that shows the working of the while statement, and also it shows the syntax of the while statement. So here we start our program by including the header, and then we have the main function here. And inside the main function, here we are declaring a variable called count. So it is an integer variable called count and it is initialized to 1. So remember that whenever we want to use a variable in a C++ program, first of all we have to declare it. So declaration means we are telling the compiler that I am going to use a variable called count, and then we have to specify its type, that is it is an integer type or whatever type it may be. So that is a declaration. Then we have the initialization. Initialization means we are giving some initial value to that variable. So here we see we are saying count is equal to 1. So this is the initialization part. So here in this one statement itself, we are having both the declaration and the initialization. Now we come to the important part, that is the while statement. So here in the while statement, this is the syntax. We have to write while, and within brackets or parentheses, we have to write the condition. So remember that there was a test condition. So this is the condition that we are giving. So in the condition, I am saying that count is less than or equal to 10. So it means that as long as the variable count's value is less than or equal to 10, execute the statements that are within the while statement. So here inside this while statement or inside this while loop, we have the statement or this piece of code which is enclosed within this curly braces. So what does it do here? Let's see. It says std_cout, hello there, and then std endline. And then we are saying that count equal to count plus 1. So that is the statement inside this while loop. Now what is the meaning of that? It means that we are trying to print out hello there and then a new line. And then we are incrementing the value of this variable count by 1. So count was 1 in the beginning. So after the first execution of this, the new value of count will be count plus 1. So what was the old value of count? 1. So 1 plus 1 equal to 2. So count will be equal to 2. Now after that, it will come back to this while statement again and check the condition. Is count less than or equal to 10? So what is the new value of count? It is 2. So is 2 less than or equal to 10? Yes, it is true. So it will again execute this statement, hello there, and then it will come and increment the value of count again. So count now becomes count plus 1. So the value of count now is 2. So 2 plus 1 equal to 3. So the new value of count becomes 3. Now count is equal to 3, and then it will come back and check the condition again. So is 3 less than or equal to 10? Yes, it is true. So again it will execute this piece of code here. So this will go on again and again till count is equal to 10. So when count becomes 10, it will check is 10 less than or equal to 10. Yes, it is still true. It will execute once more. And then after that, this count value will be equal to 11. Now when it becomes 11, it will check the condition. Is 11 less than or equal to 10? No, the condition now becomes false. So it will not execute this statement anymore, and then it will come out of the while loop and it will return a 0 and the program terminates. So we see that this part is the condition and these are the statements inside the while loop. So whatever is there in the condition will be checked. It will be executed if it is true, and then it will come back and check this condition again, and it will execute the piece of code if it is true. So this process is going to continue again and again, and that is what we call the while loop. Okay, so let us go to Visual Studio Code and put this program in our Visual Studio Code and see how it works. So here I have that same program that we just saw. So the name of my file here is while.cpp, and here we will try to run this program and see what will be the output. So let me compile the program g++ while.cpp, and we see that the program is compiled without any errors and the default output name will be a.exe. So let's run that. So we type /a.exe, and if I press enter, we see that hello there is printed 10 times. Why? Because this while loop ran for 10 times, because the condition was count is less than or equal to 10 and the initial value of count was equal to 1. So hello there is printed 10 times. So this is how the while loop works. Okay, so we saw that the output of this program is it prints hello there 10 times. Now let's take one more example. Okay, so in this example, we want to print the sum of all the numbers from 1 to 10. So here again, we have our program starting with our header and the main function. And inside the main function, I am declaring a variable count which is of type integer and the initial value is set to 1. And I am declaring another variable which is called sum, which is also an integer and whose initial value is equal to 0. Now here we are running a while loop and the condition is while count is less than or equal to 10. And then here inside the while loops statements, we are writing sum plus equal to count. Now what do we mean by this? Now this statement is the same as writing sum equal to sum plus count. Okay, so just remember that sum plus equal to count is the same as sum equal to sum plus count. So this is one way of writing that we have in C++. So essentially it just means that we are adding the value of count to sum and we are storing that value back to sum again. Okay, now we are incrementing the value of count by 1. Now what will happen in this program? So let's see. Initially the value of count is 1 and sum is 0. So it will check is count less than or equal to 10. So count's value is 1. Is 1 less than or equal to 10? Yes, it is true. And it comes down here and it is going to add the value of count to sum and it is going to store that into sum itself. So let's see what it does. So the value of sum was 0. So sum is equal to 0. So 0 plus count. So what is the value of count? Value of count is 1. So 0 plus 1 is equal to 1 and that is stored in sum. So sum becomes 1. Okay. Now next, count equal to count plus 1. So the initial value of count was 1 and we are incrementing it by 1. So the new value of count is equal to 2 now. Okay, so count is equal to 2 and then this part is over. So it will come back to the condition and check again if count is less than or equal to 10. So what is the new value of count that we just said? It is equal to 2. So is 2 less than or equal to 10? Yes, it is true. So it will come and execute this statement again, which means sum equal to sum plus count. So what was the initial value of sum? In the previous iteration, the value of sum was equal to 1. So sum is equal to sum which is 1 plus count. What is the new value of count? it is 2. So 1 plus 2, it will become 3. So the new value of sum is now equal to 3. It will be stored in sum. So this is going to continue again and again, and what it essentially is going to do is it is going to add all the numbers from 1 to 10. So it is going to be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. So that is what is going to happen. Once we reach the value of count equal to 10, this will be executed once more and the new value of count will become 11. So it will say if 11 is less than or equal to 10, it is false. Then it will not be executed. It will break from this while loop and it will come out and it will execute this statement which says sum of 1 to 10 is equal to sum. So we are trying to print the last value of sum which will be calculated here. And then we are just printing a new line and then we return 0. Okay, so let us run this program and see if it is executed correctly. So here I have that same program that we just saw and I have saved it in a file named while2.cpp. So let us compile this program. Okay, so g++ while2.cpp and it is compiled successfully. There are no errors and the output file's default name is a.exe. So let's run that. So when I run that, we see sum of 1 to 10 is equal to 55. So it added all the values from 1 to 10 and then the sum is printed here which is equal to 55. So this is how the while loop is working. So we see that it has run correctly and it has given us the correct output. Okay, so that was the way we add all the values from 1 to 10. Now let's say that we want to add the values from 1 till any value that we want. That means we want to ask the user to enter a value and then we want to add the numbers starting from 1 till that value. So suppose the user has entered 5, then we want to add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 and we want to display that output. And if he has entered, let's say 100, then we want to add all the numbers from 1 to 100 and display the output. So we want to take an user input as well. So in that case, let's see how we can accomplish this task using the while statement. So here for that, we will take this example number 3. So again, here we have our main function. So here again, we are declaring the variable count, which is an integer and it is equal to 1. Then sum is equal to 0, same like before. And now I am declaring one more integer variable, which is val or val. Now this val will be used for getting the input from the user. So we are writing a cout statement asking the user to enter the number till which the sum has to be calculated. And then using the cin statement, we accept that value or that number into this variable called val. So val will contain the number that the user has entered. Now, the only difference here is that in the while statement, the condition that we are going to give is while count is less than or equal to val. So in the previous example, 10 was a fixed value that we gave. But here we are giving the value that the user entered. So instead of 10, we are using this variable called val. And then the rest of the things are the same. Sum equal to sum plus count and count equal to count plus 1. And then this will go on iterating till we cross the value val. And then the sum of 1 to val, that is the number that the user has entered, is equal to sum. That will be printed out. So let's try to execute this program and see if it is working correctly. So here I have that program that we just saw written here and it is saved in a file named while3.cpp. Okay, so it is the same thing that we saw. Now let me just run this program. So we type g++ while3.cpp and we press enter and we see there are no errors. The program got compiled successfully and the default output name is a.exe. So let's run the a.exe file. So we type /a.exe and we press enter. Now it is saying enter the number till which the sum has to be calculated. So this one got executed and it is waiting for the user input. So let us enter 10 again and see if it is working correctly. So I entered the value equal to 10. So what should happen? The while loop should run and it should calculate the sum of all the numbers from 1 to 10. So I press enter and we see the sum of 1 to 10 is equal to 55. So in the previous example also we saw that the sum of all numbers from 1 to 10 is equal to 55. So it is printed correctly. Now let's run it once more and give it another value. Okay, so here it says again enter the number. So here let me give 100 this time and press enter. So it says the sum of 1 to 100 is equal to 5050. So we see that we can enter any value here and then the sum of 1 to that particular value will be calculated and printed out using this while loop. So that is how the while loop works or the while statement works. So I hope you have understood the use of the while statement. So we don't need to run a particular piece of code sequentially again and again, but in a loop it will be executed again and again till the condition is satisfied or till the condition is true. So that is the use of the while statement. So I hope this lecture is clear to you. This concept of while loop is a very important one that is going to be used extensively in our C++ programming. So I hope this lecture is clear to you. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.